Welcome into OutKick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Tuesdays, wherever you may be across this great country or this great land. We have got a lot to dive into right off the top. FanDuel.com/Clay. Bet anything in Iowa, Indiana, Illinois, West Virginia, Colorado, Tennessee, Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, and about to be a bunch of other states as well. And you get a free $1,000 first wager. FanDuel.com/Clay. That is FanDuel.com/Clay. All right. The SEC Media Days, Big Ten Media Days, Big 12 Media Days, everything that is going on in the world of sports is moving us closer and closer towards that fantastic day when it will be football season once again. It is July the 20th. We are around 40 days-ish away from the return of college football. I cannot wait. It is going to be absolutely fantastic. And we're having a lot of discussions about the massive changes that have gone on with college football. And the NCAA has basically acknowledged that it's a worthless organization now. I believe the number is they spent $68 million on legal fees in the past year, including tens of millions of dollars to lose 9-0 in front of the Supreme Court, arguing in favor of amateurism. And effectively, the NCAA has waved the white flag. I've been talking about this. There's no real reason for the NCAA to continue to exist. I think you could have broad rules such as scholarship limits, making sure that you follow Title IX law, all of those things that I would think a conference office could largely do. But there's no real reason for an enforcement protocol in a large bureaucracy setting like the NCAA has right now. So the NCAA has withdrawn in many ways from managing college athletics, and right now there is a interesting story. Nick Saban came out, and he said that Alabama quarterback Bryce Young, who has yet to start a single game for the Crimson Tide, has already made nearly $1 million. Let me repeat that. Bryce Young, 5-star recruit, set behind Mac Jones last year. He has already made nearly $1 million off name, image, and likeness, and he hasn't even started a game yet. I think this is going to be an interesting story that's worth following because Bryce Young may well have an NFL future. I hope he does. I wish anybody good luck at being able to advance and play in the NFL and make big, life-changing money. But even if he doesn't, he's going to make several $1 million theoretically at a school like Alabama. And I think this has not been talked about enough. There are a certain small cadre of players who will be capable of making more money in college football than they can in the pros. These are guys who are not going to be first-round draft picks, but can be really good college football players. A guy like a Jake Fromm, right, can have a lot of success playing at a school like Georgia, and probably is never going to start in the NFL. But is going to be able to make a lot of money by being able to start for several years in college. Jake Fromm could probably have made $5 or $6 million as the quarterback of Georgia. Obviously, if he ever ended up a starter in the NFL, he'd be able to make a lot more than that. But there are a lot of guys that never end up being starters in the NFL and can be multi-year starters in college at major programs and have a lot of success. Let's go back in time. I mean, think about a guy like Terrell Pryor. Really successful quarterback at Ohio State who got in trouble with all the tattoos and all that ridiculous investigation. But if he had just stayed at Ohio State and won a lot of games as a quarterback at Ohio State, even without being a high-level quarterback draft pick, he would have had an opportunity to make an absolute ton of money. And so I think there's going to be guys, I really believe this, who are going to stay in college because they never really project as that high of a draft pick in the NFL, but they're going to be able to make several $1 million. Now, what is the internal locker room dynamics going to be like for a guy like Bryce Young or any other star quarterback who is making potentially millions of dollars? And how is that going to be compared to his starting center who might be making $5,000, or his offensive line, or some of his running backs and wide receivers that are not as widely known? Certainly, offensive players are probably going to make, by and large, a lot more than defensive players. How is that going to alter the locker room dynamics? I think it's a fascinating question. We don't know for sure. But again, Nick Saban saying Bryce Young has already made nearly $1 million. Other thing to keep in mind here. Think about taxes, right? Bryce Young, I don't know what Bryce Young's family situation is, but any of you who've ever been in college, if you ever had $500 in cash, that was a lot of money to have on you at one point. I don't remember ever having $1,000 in cash until I was a grown-up, and by which I mean I was working. I can't imagine what it would be like to have a bank account with $1 million in it, but I also would have had no idea hardly how to pay taxes. Are we going to have like major IRS investigations? Is the IRS going to replace the NCAA? And are we going to have major stings being run by the IRS involving how much these players are making and whether or not they're paying taxes on it? Especially with a lot of this, for instance, autograph money. A lot of that is very cash heavy. Are there going to be NCAA investigations into some of these guys? Not anymore NCAA investigations, but IRS investigations. Just new issues to think about as we go forward. But congrats to Bryce Young. I'm a capitalist. I've been arguing for a long time. I think there will be relatively few players who make a substantial amount of dollars. Quarterbacks are going to do really well, I believe, off name, image, and likeness. Your average athlete, I don't think, is going to have that much money that he or she is able to make. So that story out there about Bryce Young and the Alabama quarterback. By the way, it's a really good recruiting opportunity. And I do wonder, for elite level quarterbacks, is this going to become a big part of the pitch? Is Nick Saban going to go in? And look, the big pitch should be, hey, Tua, Jalen Hurts, and now Mac Jones, the last three quarterbacks that I've had at Alabama, have all gotten drafted and have started games in the NFL. You can be the next guy to come to Alabama, play for us, and start games in the NFL. Because that's where the big money is. When you start talking about $1 million a year for a college football quarterback, that's big money too. Remember, that's more than the minimum salary in the NFL by a pretty substantial magnitude. And so I wonder how this is going to play out going forward, because I would think that would have to be a part of the overall pitch. And are there other schools with big dollar boosters that could start to say, hey, if you're our starting quarterback, we'll pay you more? Is this going to end up in an arms race, literally the quarterback arms race? I think it's worth paying attention to. Space. Jeff Bezos, who has made, whatever it is, $200 billion, I think is how much money he has as the founder of Amazon, and Richard Branson, both have now gone to space. And I got to be honest with you, I love to travel. One of my favorite things to do is go visit a different part of the country or a different part of the world than I have been to before. I haven't gotten to travel as much as I would like because, frankly, I work all the time, and I've also got young kids, which makes it harder and harder to travel. But at some point, right now when I do the math, my youngest kid is 6, about to be 7. In about 11 years, I will still be not that old in the grand scheme of things. I'll be 53 years old. In 11 years, I'd like to be able to travel all over the world when suddenly my kids are in college, my kids are grown, everything else. I don't have, however, a lot of interest in going to space. And in theory, I now am in that space race group because your boy has become super rich. And I could theoretically afford, as this cost comes down on space travel, I could afford a trip to space. But you know what? I'm not really that interested in going to space. There are so many, I want to go to Australia. I want to go to New Zealand. I want to go to Asia. I'd like to visit Africa at some point in time. And I've not been to any of those places. There are tons of places in Europe I would still like to visit. So there are lots of places on this globe that I would like to visit before I leave this globe. And I asked a question. There's, 16,000 of you have voted in the first hour. Do you have any interest in going to space as a tourist? And 74% of you are saying no. 74% of you are saying no. 26% of you are saying yes. The theory is there is a big industry that is interested in going to space for tourism-related issues. That's the theory out there. 26% of you, at least in my audience, 74% of you say no. Stocks. While I have been talking to you, we have seen a big rebound in the price of stocks, which is a good sign beyond a shadow of a doubt, I think, based on what happened yesterday. Stocks ended up down 700 some odd points yesterday. There was a fear that perhaps the COVID vaccines were not working as well and that COVID was spreading, and there's all this talk, and I hope that that is not going to be the case. I hope that we are all going to be able to get back to some form of normalcy. But stocks up 550 points after being down 700 points yesterday. We basically are back to a wash where stocks have not moved very much this week. So that is a good sign. I hope the stock market can stay strong. Speaking of that, did you know that only 1% of day traders actually turn a profit? So why are so many of us mistaking picking stocks for serious investing? How do billionaires like Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and the rest invest? They invest in many other different properties, such as blue chip art. Masterworks.io is the only platform that lets you invest in paintings by artists like Banksy and Monet at a fraction of the entry cost. This is pretty fascinating. Contemporary art prices have outgained the S&P 500 by 174% from 1995 through 2020. No wonder 84% of wealth managers recommend investing in arts and collectibles. That is why Masterworks.io is making art investing accessible to everyone. They recently sold their first painting, a Banksy work, for a 32% annualized return to investors. S&P 500 averages around 9 or 10% at good rates of return over time. And right now, OutKick subscribers can skip the waitlist by going to Masterworks.io, promo code CLAY today. That's Masterworks.io, promo code CLAY. You can see important information at Masterworks.io/disclaimer. It's going to be pretty fascinating. I'm going to check that out. I might invest in some art. And you can join me at Masterworks.io. All right. Did you see Kirby Smart race his son? One of the challenges of being a parent is you have to figure out how much do I want to let my kid win? How much do I want to encourage him versus how much sometimes do you just want to dust him? Kirby Smart, Georgia, I think, is appearing right now at the SEC Media Days, which is underway. Kirby Smart and Georgia, they posted a video. Kirby racing against his son, and he dusted him. Did a little bit of high step down the end, got a little stretch action in before the run. It was actually pretty funny. So if you haven't checked that out, Kirby Smart, I tweeted it out. If you need a good laugh, Kirby Smart, Georgia football coach, racing against his son down on the beach. By the way, I played a couple of years ago at the Regions Classic. I played the entire round with Kirby Smart. We were together for like 5 hours. Really good dude. I liked him a lot. Got to meet his wife. It's rare. Everybody's busy. It's rare you spend 5 hours hanging out with somebody usually. And so I had a really good time hanging out with Kirby. Good dude. I can see why he recruits well at the University of Georgia. Online news. Online news has absolutely tanked without Donald Trump. We have talked about the fact that television news has completely tanked and fallen apart without Donald Trump. But it's also happening online now. Right now, we are in a spot where nearly 50% of our all online news traffic has vanished without Donald Trump to drive it. And I wonder on some level whether CNN, deep in their heart of hearts, is actually terrified that their business is collapsing because they no longer have Donald Trump to cover. And, I understand, like, MSNBC is probably going to do fine. They have adopted themselves as the network of liberals. Fox News is certainly going to do well. They have adopted themselves as the network of conservatives. Where does that leave CNN? Are there really people out there that are like, man, you know who I love? Chris Cuomo. You know who I really get excited to sprint out of bed and watch? Jake Tapper. I don't really think these people have legitimate audiences. I don't think they have fan bases. Now, whether you love or hate Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity, they have massive fan bases. Laura Ingraham, everybody on Fox News. Rachel Maddow on MSNBC has a really big fan base. How many people out there actually have fan bases that are substantial? I just think in general that online news desperately, so many blue checkmark brigade members out there are going to start losing their jobs soon because Trump isn't president. And the only reason over the last 4 years they were able to drive traffic was by demonizing Donald Trump. And without him, this is going to be really fascinating to watch. Again, all of the corporate media outlets lost their audience in a massive way. All right, I got to tell you, guys, for the better part of our lives, our better halves have been fantasizing about the perfect wedding ring. Cut, clarity, carat, color, you name it. When you bought a wedding ring, if you're anything like me, you probably had to do a lot of research to figure out what to get your wife. But for us, not so much, and jewelry stores definitely think the same thing, that our rings really don't matter. Where Manly Bands is here to rescue you from an otherwise hellish band buying experience. They offer your hand the freedom to look how you want it, just about every type of earthly material imaginable, even from space. And I'm telling you, this can make a big difference because the woman's ring, massively important. Men's ring, you need to figure out what makes sense for you as well. Get started. All you have to do is go to Manly Bands, check and see what the size of your fingers are. Once you know your size, boom, they have an insane selection of materials to choose from. Gold, wood, antler, steel, dinosaur bone, even the meteorites that killed the dinosaurs. These are pretty cool. You can also get whiskey barrel collection of Manly Bands. These are really cool. Once you've selected your band, they offer free shipping worldwide, 30-day exchange policy, and a free warranty. While your marriage may only have a 50% chance of working out, there's a 100% chance you will love your band. All you need to do to get a Manly Band and get 20% off plus a free ring, go to manlybands.com/clay. That's manlybands.com/clay for 21% off. Manly Bands, the best damn rings, period. And by the way, if you are getting married and you are a woman, or you got a son, or you are out there and you're afraid of what their ring might end up looking like, you need to go to manlybands.com and get hooked up now. A couple of other big stories I haven't even gotten to. NBA Game 5 ratings, they're down 47% from the last time we had a Game 5 in the summer back in 2019. That was the Warriors going up against the Raptors. What's interesting about that is the Warriors-Raptors series was actually a low-rated series because one of the teams was from Canada. And now we have Milwaukee and Phoenix Game 6s tonight, but Game 5's ratings were down 47% from where they were in 2019. Some people say, why do you cover this? Well, because I think facts matter. And also, let me just say this. Adam Silver or any of your other stooges at the NBA, Mark Cuban, a lot of different people in the NBA who pay attention, maybe somebody at ESPN who's been doing the ball washing for the NBA. All I want you to acknowledge is this, that deciding to embrace far left-wing politics, writing Black Lives Matter and social justice warrior slogans on your jerseys, tanked the overall NBA brand to the point where the worst two series viewerships of any of our lives, just about, have happened last year and this year. The overall audience for the NBA has collapsed. I think the NBA needs to apologize to American sports fans for being woke and getting broke when it comes to their rating, for listening to the blue checkmark brigade members on Twitter and not recognizing who their true audience was, people who love sports but don't want their athletes speaking politics all day long, every day. And so, the NBA Game 5 ratings tanked down 47% from 2019. And this is yet more evidence that the more political you become, the less people want to watch your games. The NBA has a great game, basketball. Do you know nearly twice as many people watched Baylor play against Gonzaga in the NCAA title game as have watched any NBA Finals game yet this season? People don't hate basketball. They hate woke basketball. They hate the basketball that LeBron James has championed and led right off of the ratings cliff. Not only is LeBron no Jordan, he doesn't even have a true Jordan-esque fan base. Finally, Aaron Rodgers has reportedly turned down a 2-year contract extension that would have made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. I am going to talk to you about that momentarily, but first I'm going to tell you, you need better help. And this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Is there something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Sometimes that can be the case. You need BetterHelp to help assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. Look, a lot of people in 2020, it has been an incredibly difficult year. High levels of stress. It's not a crisis line. This is self-help. Professional counseling done securely online, giving you a broad range of expertise, which might not be available in many of your local areas. You can log into your account anytime, send a message to your counselor. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't ever have to sit in a waiting room. BetterHelp will help you get back to your best version of yourself. All you have to do right now is go to betterhelp.com/clay. That's better, H-E-L-P, and join the over 1 million people who've taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. And as a special offer for OutKick the Show, listeners get 10% off their first month. All you have to do is go to betterhelp.com/clay. So Aaron Rodgers has turned down a 2-year extension that would have made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And I am fascinated to see how this story plays out. Because remember, Aaron Rodgers still hasn't told us very much about what his plans are associated with the Green Bay Packers. Last time we saw him on the field is when the Packers were kicking a field goal instead of going forward on a 4th down to try to put the game into overtime. 2-point conversion they would have still needed. Aaron Rodgers never got the ball back. Tom Brady wins the NFC, goes on to win the Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. So, as a part of Aaron Rodgers' game plan at this point, we are very close, within about a week of NFL teams returning to training camp. What is going to be the plan going forward as it pertains to this team, the Packers, and how they're going to reconcile with Aaron Rodgers? Is he going to show up at training camp? Is he going to demand that he be traded at the start of training camp? Something is going to have to get resolved very soon here. Is Aaron Rodgers going to sit out? Is he going to show back up in Green Bay? A lot of drama here, but the fact that he turned down an offer that would have made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, as well as a 2-year extension, suggests that money is not the primary motive here, that he is after something other than money. We will have to see what exactly is the story with Aaron Rodgers going forward as it pertains to that relationship. I appreciate all of you. I am about to hop on Fox Bet Live, Tuesday edition of the program. Final few episodes of Season 3. I am hopping a flight to LA, going out to see Thursday and Friday show from the Fox lot out in LA. I'll also be doing the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show from LA. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for hanging out with us. I am Clay Travis. This has been OutKick the Show. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP.